sumus, gaudeamus igitur juvenestum sumus, post secunda juventutem, post molestam senectutem, nos habebit humus, nos habebit humus. Vivat Academia, vivat professores, vivat Academia, vivat professores, vivat membrum quodlibet, vivat membrum felibet, semper sint in flore, semper sint in flore. Gaudeamus igitur juvenestum sumus, gaudeamus igitur juvenestum sumus, post secundam juventutem, post molestam senectutem, nos habebit humus, nos habebit humus. Vivat Academia, vivat professores, vivat Academia, vivat professores, vivat membrum quodlibet, vivat membrum felibet, semper sint in flore, semper sint in flore. Gaudeamus igitur juvenestum sumus, gaudeamus igitur juvenestum sumus, post secundam juventutem, post molestam senectutem, nos habebit humus, nos habebit humus. Vivat Academia, vivat professores, vivat Academia, vivat professores, vivat membrum quodlibet, vivat membrum felibet, semper sint in flore, semper sint in flore. Gaudeamus igitur juvenestum sumus, gaudeamus igitur juvenestum sumus, post secundam juventutem, post molestam senectutem, nos habebit humus, nos habebit humus. Vivat Academia, vivat professores, vivat Academia, vivat professores, vivat membrum quodlibet, vivat membrum felibet, semper sint in flore, semper sint in flore.
Otwieram z radością uroczystości inaugurujące 54. rok akademicki.
Academic year at the University of Silesia.
Proszę o odśpiewanie hymnu państwowego.
Please, let's sing the national anthem.
Jeszcze Polska nie zginęła, kiedy my.
Co za mocna przecieła wasza żałoba, bierzemy.
Z ziemi włoskiej do Polski, za twoim przewodem złączył się z narodem. Marsz, marsz Dąbrowski, z ziemi włoskiej do Polski, za twoim przewodem złączył się z narodem. Przejdzie Wisłę, przejdzie Arte, będzie Polakami. Dał nam przykład Bonaparte, jak zwyciężać mamy. Marsz, marsz Dąbrowski, z ziemi włoskiej do Polski, za twoim przewodem złączył się z narodem. Marsz, marsz Dąbrowski, z ziemi włoskiej do Polski, za twoim przewodem złączył się z narodem.
Dziękuję. Proszę o zajęcie miejsca.
Thank you very much. Please take your seats.
Nasza uroczystość będzie
This
transmitowana
ceremony is going to be transmitted,
dla pełnej komunikacji.
and for
Będzie także tłumaczona na język
communication
migowy.
purposes, it's going to be translated into or interpreted into sign language with subtitles, and the online transmission will be accompanied by interpretation into the English
Witam
language.
bardzo serdecznie
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome
zgromadzonych
everyone,
materiałów, wszystkich, którzy oglądają
everyone
nas w
here,
transmisji
everyone
internetowej. Witam was
watching us
w
online
swoim imieniu i
on
w
my
imieniu
behalf
moich
and
koleżanek
on
i
behalf
kolegów
of my colleagues,
Szczególnie
the
serdecznie
vice rectors.
Witam
In
przedstawicieli
particular,
władz
I'd like to
państwowych,
welcome
w osobie
the
pana
representatives
wojewody
of the
śląskiego,
state
Jarosława
authorities,
Wieczorka.
Mr. Jarosław Wieczorek, the Silesian voivode,
Witam przedstawicieli
representatives
władz
of
samorządowych, w tym
local
miasta
government
akademickich,
authorities, including academic cities, Mrs. Danuta Kamińska, the Deputy President of the Upper Silesian Metropolis,
pana Waldemara
Mr.
Bojaruna,
Waldemar
zastępcę
Bojarun,
prezydenta
the Deputy
Katowic,
Mayor of Katowice,
oraz pana
and
Zbigniewa
Mr.
Byszewskiego,
Zbigniew
pierwszego zastępcę
Byszewski,
prezydenta
the first Deputy of the Mayor of Sosnowiec.
Serdecznie witam
I'd like to
przedstawicieli
welcome
duchowieństwa,
representatives
na
of the
czele z Jego
clergy
Ekscelencją
with
arcybiskupem
His Excellency
księdzem doktorem Wiktorem Skworcem.
Wiktor Skworc,
Wielkim kanclerzem
the
Uniwersytetu
great
Śląskiego,
Chancellor of the
metropolitą katowickiego.
University of
Witam
Silesia.
serdecznie Jego
I'd
Ekscelencję
like to
księdza
welcome
doktora Mariana Niemca, biskupa diecezji
the Bishop of
katowickiej
the
Kościoła
Katowice
Ewangelicznego
Diocese.
Augsburskiego w Polsce. Witam
I would like to
księdza
welcome
Krzysztofa
Krzysztof Nowrot,
pasterza akademickiego w archidiecezji katowickiej.
member of the Katowice Archdiocese.
Witam doktora Wojciecha
I'd like to
Surmiaka,
welcome
duszpasterza akademickiego
Wojciech Surmiak,
pracownika
PhD.
Witam serdecznie
I would like to welcome representatives of the consular
w
corps,
osobach pani Anny
represented by Mrs. Anna Krasuska-Terrion, the honorary consul of the French consulate in Katowice,
Witam
of the Republic of
pana
France in
doktora
Katowice.
Marcina
I'd like to welcome
Tysika, konsula honorowego
Marcin
Republiki
Tyslik,
Federalnej Niemiec w Gliwicach.
an honorary consul of Germany in Gliwice.
Oraz witam
And I'd like to
serdecznie pana
welcome
Andrzeja
Mr. Andrzej
konsula
Żylak, the
honorowego
honorary consul of the
prezesa
Republic of
Zarządu
Croatia.
Handlowej Rybnickiego Okręgu Przemysłowego. Witam
I'd like to
rektorów
welcome
za przyjęcie.
the rectors of our partner universities, Professor Celina Olszak, rector of the University of Economics in Katowice,
Pana profesora
Professor Grzegorz Henderek, rector of the Academy of Fine Arts in Katowice,
pana profesora Władysława Szymańskiego,
Professor Władysław
rektora
Szymański,
Akademii
rector of
Muzycznej
the
imienia
Academy
Karola
of the Karol Szymanowski Academy of Music in Katowice,
panią profesor Joannę
Professor Joanna
Warańską-Gęsiarz,
Warańska-Gęsiarz,
panią
the
Uniwersytetu
vice rector of the Jan Długosz University,
pana profesora
Professor Damian Czyżewski, professor of the Silesian Medical University, deputy rector,
oraz pana
and
profesora
Professor Raimund Tomik, the deputy rector of the Academy of Physical Education in Katowice.
Witam serdecznie
I would like to welcome representatives of businesses, Tadeusz Donocik, founder and honorary president of the Regional Chamber of Commerce and president of the Association of Graduates of the University of Silesia. I'd like to welcome the Council of the University of Silesia, represented by the president, Mr. Piotr Uszok,
panią
Professor Zofia Piotrowska-Seget,
pana profesora
Professor Marian Paluch,
panią Elżbietę Bieńkowską
Mrs. Elżbieta Bienikowska,
oraz panią Małgorzatę
and
Poszwę,
Mrs. Małgorzata Poszwa, member of the Council of the University of Silesia and head of the student self-government of the University of Silesia.
Witam Radę
I'd like to welcome the Council of former rectors, represented by President Professor Andrzej Kowalczyk, rector of the University of Silesia in the years 2016-2020.
pan profesor
Professor Janusz Janeczek, director of our university in the years 2002-2008. and Professor Wiesław Banyś, the Rector in the years 2008-2016. I would like to welcome the Vice Rectors of the University of Silesia, my dear colleagues, Professor Michał Daszykowski, the Vice Rector responsible for finances, Professor Ewa Jarosz, the Vice Rector responsible for staff development, Professor Tomasz Pietrzykowski, the Vice Rector responsible for international and domestic cooperation, who is right now at the airport. Probably he is trying to reach us right now, and Professor Katarzyna Trynda, the Vice Rector responsible for education and students. With great honor, I'd like to welcome the winners of this year's prize, Scientia et Arte. Professor Stanisław Kucharski from the Faculty of Natural and Technical Sciences. I'd like to welcome an honorary guest of this inauguration, Professor Grażyna Borkowska from the Institute of Literary Studies of the Polish Academy of Sciences, who is going to present us with a lecture, an inauguration lecture. And again, I'd like to welcome everyone present here or listening to us or watching us online. I'd like to welcome the Senate, the deans, the chancellors, our lecturers, administrative staff, students, PhD students, graduates, the entire academic personnel, rectors of other universities, all our guests, as well as those who watch us online. Last year was definitely difficult. The measure of difficulty was many members of our community passing away. Right now we would like to present them for several minutes to just so that we can remember their faces and their names.
Proszę Państwa o powstanie
Ladies and
i
gentlemen,
oddanie im hołdu
please
minutą
rise
ciszy.
and honor them with a minute of silence.
Dziękuję. Proszę o zajęcie miejsc.
Thank you. Please return to your seats.
A teraz czas na
Now
rektora.
it is the time for the address of the rector.
Coś do picia.
I believe I will need some water.
Szanowni Państwo,
Ladies and gentlemen, honorable guests,
wystąpienie
this
zatytułowałem
presentation
Uniwersytet
has been entitled by me as University The Return.
We wspaniałym wierszu
In
Syn
a
marnotrawny
fantastic
Tadeusz Różewicz
poem,
swoje
Prodigious
proroczą dla nas
Son, Tadeusz
refleksję nad
Różewicz
problemem powrotu.
reflects on the problem of return. I'm
Między
quoting,
zamknięciem i
between
otwarciem
enclosure
drzwi
and
coś się
opening
stało.
of door, something has
Ujrzałem
happened.
życie
I
z tłuszczą
noticed
szczęką,
life
ryj
with
świński
a
pod kapturem
huge
Mira,
wolf's
otwarte drzwi
gob,
świata.
the open
Widziałem wojnę
world,
na ziemi i
the
niebie.
open belly of the
Ludzi na
world,
krzyżach,
people
którzy mnie zbawiali.
on earth
Perło
and
i
in
jabłko,
the
które
heaven,
zgniły w dłoni.
an apple that
Widziałem koniec
rotten
i
in
początek
the hand.
świata,
I saw the
między
beginning and
zamknięciem
end of the
i
world,
otwarciem.
between the opening and closing of the doors.
Alegoryczne obrazy
These
przejęte z malarstwa
allegoric
Boscha pomagają
pictures
Różewiczowi
from
w próbie
Bosch's
mówienia o tym,
allegory
jak
help
wrócić do
Różewicz to
domu i
talk
żyć w
about
nim po
returning
doświadczeniu wojny.
home after the experience
Nasz
of
problem
war.
dzisiejszy jest odwrotny.
Our problem
Mianowicie,
is quite
jak ponownie
opposite.
wyjść
How
z
to
domu w
get
świat
out of
po
home,
tym, co się ze
return to
światem
the world
stało,
after what
na
has
skutek
happened to the
epidemii.
world due to the pandemic.
Jak u Boscha,
As
tak ja u
Różewicz
Różewicza szukam
looks
inspiracji, aby
for
próbować
inspiration in
pomyśleć
Bosch's
i nazwać
painting,
to,
I
co
look
stało
for
się między
inspiration
zamknięciem i
in
otwarciem
Różewicz's
drzwi
poem. What
uniwersytetu.
happened between the closure and
Otwarciem,
opening of the
którego
door
dziś
at the
oficjalnie
university,
dokonujemy
the
po
opening that
15
we
miesiącach
are doing now
zamknięcia
after
wymuszonego
over a
epidemią.
dozen months of closure forced by
W tym czasie
epidemic.
coś się stało.
Something
To
happened
coś nazwaliśmy
in this
szybko
time.
pojęciem naukowym,
We've
to jest
put
pandemią
a
koronawirusa, precyzyjnie chorobą zakaźną
scientific
wywoływaną
name
przez
to
wirus
it,
SARS-CoV-2.
potentially
Wkrótce jednak stało się jasne, że
dismissed
groza tej choroby
immutable
wyłącznie i
potential
silnie
disease
niszczącej
of
ludzki organizm.
epidemic
Ale
that
w szybkości
not
i
only
łatwości
destroys a
transmisji
human
wirusa, którego
body,
globalne
but
rozprzestrzenianie
quickly
się
disperses
paraliżowało
and
organizmy
paralyzes
instytucjonalne
global
państw,
institutions
na czele z
all
ochroną
over
zdrowia i edukacją.
the world with
Nie udało się
education and
zatrzasnąć
health
przeciwnych
service.
drzwi
We did not
szpitali i
manage to
uczelni.
close the doors
W
against the
strachu i
virus.
upokorzeniu zamknęliśmy się przed
We
chorobą w
just
domach,
got shut in our
pozostawiając opuszczone
homes,
ulice, place,
emptying the
restauracje,
streets,
sklepy,
restaurants,
teatry,
theaters,
kina,
cinemas,
przestrzenie
and
naszej
the
edukacji i
place, the
pracy.
space of our work and
Epidemia
education. The
wygnała nas do
epidemic
domów,
has chased us back
ograniczając nas dostęp
to our
do świata.
homes, limiting our access to the world. In the general perspective, we have for the first time, in a conscious way, experienced, despite those political differences and cultural differences, the pandemic has made us equal and made us take these defensive forms of life. It reminded us we're one species living on a single planet, and we are the only ones responsible for what is going on here. Today, thinking about the university being reopened, my impression is that this double expression of disease, this individual and global experience, this is something we'll be bringing to the university together with this fresh experience of loss of those who passed away. This disturbance will probably turn into calm. We will educate in the normal, regular way as before, but this has been imprinted in our minds. It tells us that the most magnificent buildings of universities are not protection for virus, not only biological. The virus is also a metaphor of other pandemics like information lie or populism. But if this biological virus lets us go away from public space, then social viruses should speed up our return to the university. When our trust in the state has been shaken, the university becomes the only center of factual truth that has to be based in facts. That's not the only good of the university, since we perceive manipulation with institution. This community of university becomes a rare place with rules and standards of democracy, and humans are only assessed by their achievements, actual achievements, and this is done not under force or in fear of punishment, but based on willful freedom. And this privilege means that, based on what Jacques Derrida has mentioned, being free in acquiring, in inquiring, in learning, not being limited by any religious and political force. Hence the question, how this uniqueness of the university can be used in these days, in the coming post-pandemic period. The freedom of scientific research and communicating information is the heritage of enlightenment. However, the period that gave rise to universities has limited this power, diminishing the quality of truth dispersed by philosophers. So sciences of today have been were perceived by Kant as something smaller compared to medicine and law, because it's of smaller importance for those in power. The university that we're returning to should get rid of this Kantian division. We at the university deal with truth that has to be presented by reason. It refers to the philosopher, glaciologist, who alerts us in the face of melting ice bergs, and epidemiologists that have to face anti-vaccination tendencies. But the world has to appreciate the privilege. We need to acknowledge the privilege of economic freedom, and the university becoming the island of independent thought, independent research, and open relationships between its community members. The tension of the community is the bigger when we are terrified by the world outside the university, the political arguments, this fear of refugees or discontent with regards to sexual minorities, subjugating or undermining the essence of vaccination or the membership in the European Union. This university, which veiled under research, can protect us against the world something happened to, which is an escapist, rather than approaching, facing the world. This is something we cannot return to. First of all, because this model has eroded under the pressure of economy, of politics, of technical advance, and all kinds of rankings. On the other hand, the second reason is that we cannot hide in the university for ethical reasons. Intelligence is a moral category, as Theodor Adorno mentions, which is to fight the instinct of self-disguise, self-illusion. Henry David Thoreau wrote, "Let us assume we have a small library with paintings on the walls, with a beautiful yard in the back of the house where you contemplate literary works, and suddenly you see that all this mention is placed in hell, that the judge of peace is one of the helpers of the devil. Will not all those things we have lose their value?" Paradoxically, due to the crisis of trust to information and destruction of communication in the public sphere by commercial and advertisement, universities in Poland can regain their role, educational and teaching role, which can have impact on the public. The role of the university is to disperse scientifically proven truth and sharing knowledge that will improve the quality of life of our graduates, of personal life, and the life we share with others. Both basic researchers and specialist education, applied science, and vocational education have the same reason that contribute to the good we should aim for. In order for this to work, the university has to prove that we can tie the right to democratically decide on the people in the country with scientific and technical preparation for such dealings and actions. We need the dialogue. We need to stop the collection between knowledge and the involvement of our inhabitants of the country, citizens, is imminent. It has to be, it's important and has to be part of the process. We have granted the Honoris Causa Award to Jolanta Wadowska-Król, a doctor. She is an incredible researcher who has been testing the blood of children suffering from lead disease. She publishes her results in journals. She could be the pride of every university, using those results of her research to increase the awareness of parents and pressure for authority have deprived her from pursuing her future career, research career. Institutional truth is in crisis all over the world. This translates into the state of mind where we trust more in what we believe in than in what we know. In order for this to change, an individual must know and see that truth is intersubjective, and it has the institutional authority of university, school, law, or school. Otherwise, it can be questioned as easily as an opinion of our neighbor. The authority and reliability of university is based on the achievements of its members and on modern learning that respect the expectations of the students. It's obvious but not sufficient. The dignity and honor for the university are raised when we see it improves the life of people and those who live in these educational interactions, introducing and inviting people to within our walls. We tell people that we believe in a better future. As the biggest university in this region, this is the role we want to take, being the initiator of debates and projects that care for the transformation of Silesia. We want the University of Silesia, together with other universities here, to be the driver of these transformations and the generator of social and economic innovations. Against this industrial identity of this part of Poland, culture and humanities show the new phase of the city. The culture zone in Katowice proves this very well. We need to add another pillar to this structure, the science pillar, where we have a lot of universities, and we see in Katowice this strategy is successful, and other cities can refer to it in our region. Every politician and self-government member that cares about the future of Silesia has to work on preventing depopulation and improvement of life quality here. They should contribute to this together with universities. Despite the political situation, we need to be consistent in improving our university. The foundation being research and high level thereof is and will be awarded. Professor Michał Daszkowski has prepared a quality system that adds to it. We have experienced it in operation. We'll be happy to involve more and more funds in achievements and scientific achievements and publications. Education during pandemic has affirmed us that changes have to be done in the way we learn. Katarzyna Trenda has been supervising a reform of BA studies. Will have a unique form of education offering functional new education related with interdisciplinary offer, where the student will be able to choose from, creating a program that they find reasonable. Vice Rector Ewa Jarosz also supervises changes that take the specificity of faculties of our university into account. We have competitions, we have more and more candidates to work here, and we see these changes are grounded and needed. We need to tie our operations with other universities all over Europe. We have connection with 7 other universities in Europe where we create a common campus and do common research. These selected and prioritized activities build our strong position in the country and in the region and give us mandate to carry out initiatives with the University of Economics and Technical University of Silesia for transition. We apply for transition funds. We want to transform the Rawa area into leisure zone. The instrument that we use is to have new research infrastructure, Silesian biological science centers that can be used by everyone in this region. The dialogue with the inhabitants of the region is the Silesian Festival that is going to be taking place next week. 9 universities will be involved. 50,000 people visited the festival last year, so it will represent Expo in Dubai in 2021. And the most ambitious undertaking initiated by the University of Silesia is the application to be the European capital of science for 2022. We have a range of negotiations to do that, but we believe we are on the right path. These are just selected activities of the university while we were absent from its walls, just to prove to ourselves that we're continuously working in administrative scientific terms. We've created a newsletter, weekly newsletter, just to stay in touch as a community which has been always busy between the doors were shut and until they were open again. I thought this place was waiting for me, says the speaker of the poem of Różewicz. I was also concerned this would happen. I was feared that what we call university will not wait for us unchanged until we take it back. In order not to stay alone with this, we use the university magazine to ask the question, what kind of university would we like to return to, the actual or the imagined university? These are pieces of your answers that I'm really grateful for, because they showed me that we care all together for this common good, which is our university, and let me understand what we are returning to or what we should be returning to. I would definitely like to an aesthetic building with good equipment provided for every teacher. When I go to the university, I see contrast between this and home. Agnieszka Skoruba said. Monika Szyno also wants to have something more than just work. Maciej Marmola, more trust in employees. After this period of absence, I would like to find understanding and non-discriminatory approach from the teachers as professors. Agnieszka Grolak. As university, we should apply the rules that we preach. Tomasz Okraska. We need to keep asking what's the best for humans, not to become so that it does not become dark, because it costs you to think. I wish that post-pandemic university be like a sand grain in a clam to create a pearl. Sławomir Słowicz. I hope to return to normality, to meet with all the administrative workers, students, in Cieszyn, with people, with humans, not squares on the monitor. So, well, and I believe the university will be vaccinated. Less concrete and more greenery and meadows with flowers, so that people, students want to stay in the campus to participate in online meetings. Agnieszka Maria, Magdalena Stryja. I dream of a university which recognizes work and respects work, which understands the costs of studying that some of us pay. I believe that one of the most important elements is that it should recognize its place in the world of politics and look for such solutions that make it autonomous and make it fulfill the values in respect of logistics, but also ethical and moral values. The university should be a place where you can discuss every matter, despite of religion, politics, and other aspects. Respect in listening and expressing opinion have to be stronger than emotions. David Hort. I believe the university should keep on developing together with digitization all the spheres. We should have some classes online. Let it take us to some undiscovered areas of education. I believe that I do agree that knowledge is difficult because its burden can be felt every day. Magda Kminkowski. We have become a less or more chaotic group of electrons, a group of Ronins without a mentor. This has been emphasized by the pandemic. So please, colleagues, let us organize in smaller groups of particular ideas, because this is the only way where we stop hiding and going in the dark and start creating the community of thought and work. Tadeusz Sławek. Today we see that a university based on professionalization is the most effective as much as measurement methods are concerned, the Shanghai list. But this awareness does not change anything. We have to play this game of someone else's game. We don't believe the rules that we actually believe we're playing according to. And the rules and the new that is coming to that is to replace the old one might be disappointment, but first of all, no dreams. Filip Mazurkiewicz. If we do not find some strength to care, to crave for justice, there's nothing we can propose to the world after pandemic. We don't start to rebel against the new reality, we'll be overwhelmed by them as abeys. Only rebellion can save us. Magda Pieka. University that looks for new solutions so that our lives are better, so that the world develops, so that nature does not suffer, that is prestigious and that is socially useful. I'd like to return to a university that is a little bit crazy, convincing, that breaks stereotypes, that can change the society, the region, the world, and the country. Wika Gokaszashvili. I think it's enough if we can come back and see one another in real life and return to the same place where we stopped. Łukasz Kieś. Thank you very much.
Proszę Państwa o powstanie.
Stand up, please.
Otwieram rok
I am
akademicki
opening the 2021-2022 academic year.
Od założenia Uniwersytetu Śląskiego.
That is the 54th year since establishment of the University of Silesia. Let's hope it's going to be good, lucky and fruitful. Quod bonum felix faustum fortunatum sit.
Bardzo dziękuję. Proszę o zajęcie miejsca.
Thank you very much. Sit down, please.
A teraz bardzo serdecznie proszę.
Right now, I'd like to ask the Silesian Voivode, Mr. Jarosław Wieczorek, to read a letter from Mr. Mateusz Morawiecki, the President of the Council of Ministers.
Bardzo prosimy o dźwięk dla pana wojewody.
We need to be able to hear Mr. Voivode, so let's turn the microphone on.
Zaczekajmy chwilę. Nie, ta musi działać sprawnie. Może spróbujemy z tego mikrofonu.
Maybe let's use the other microphone over there.
Nie sądziłem, że moje przemówienie
I wouldn't believe my speech to make such an impression.
Ale najważniejsze wydarzenia przed nami.
Well, the most important events are still ahead of us. So, all right, it's working now.
Bardzo dziękuję. Rzeczywiście czasami
Thank you very much. Yes, sometimes going back to normality is not an easy thing to do.
Magnificencjo rektorze,
Your Magnificence, Mr. Rector,
ekscelencjo księża
Your
arcybiskupie,
Excellency,
ekscelencjo biskupie, wysoki senacie,
dear
wielebni
Senate,
duchowni,
members of the
Panie i
clergy,
panowie
ladies and gentlemen,
profesorowie, pani
dear
przewodnicząca,
professors,
panowie prezydenci,
Madam President,
szanowni państwo, na
ladies
końcu,
and gentlemen,
ale chyba najważniejsi,
last
drodzy
but not least,
studenci,
dear
wszyscy ci,
students,
którzy wchodzą w tej chwili
and
najważniejszy chyba okres
everyone who
swoich
is
żyć.
entering now this most important
Przypadł mi dzisiaj
period
w udziale
in your lives.
Zaszczyt
I
odczytania listu
have
prezesa
today
Rady
the pleasure to read the letter sent by the
Magnificencjo, Wysoki Senacie,
President
Szanowni
of the
Państwo.
Council of Ministers.
Inauguracja roku
The
akademickiego
inauguration
jest czasem
of an
nadziei,
academic year is a
planów i
time
nowego
of hope,
otwarcia.
plans, a new
Cała społeczność
beginning, and the
uczelni
entire
staje przed szansą, by
community of
spełnić
the
ambicje i
university
marzenia
has a chance
oraz
now
w pełni
to
wykorzystać
meet the
potencjał,
expectations
który
and make
tkwi
use
w
of the
każdym z
potential
nas.
that is within
W tym
every one of
wyjątkowym
us.
dniu
On that special
wszystkim
day,
Państwu obecnym na uroczystości pragnę przekazać wyrazy najwyższego
wish to
szacunku i
to say
zapewnienie
that
o
I
mojej
have a great
pamięci.
honor and that I remember
Wierzę,
all of
że
you,
w
about all of you.
rozpoczynającym
I
się
believe
roku
that in this
powrócimy do takiego
starting
sposobu
year we are
funkcjonowania
going to
uczelni,
return
jaki
to
znamy
the
sprzed
functioning of the
pandemii
university
koronawirusa.
that we know from
Znów
before
będą
the
Państwo
coronavirus
mogli
pandemic.
wprowadzić w życie
I
idee
hope you're going
studiów
to
otwartych na osobistym
develop
kontakcie
the
i
university that's
współpracy w
open,
relacji
based on personal contacts
uczeń.
between between
jak
professors
najbardziej
and
wykorzystać
students
czas przeznaczony
in order to
na
make the
zdobywanie
best
i
use
przekazywanie
of that
wiedzy.
time
Już
for
wkrótce
passing
będziemy
on
mogli
knowledge.
obserwować efekty
Quite
opracowanego
soon we're
przez
going to
Ministerstwo
see the
Edukacji i
effects
Nauki
of the
projektu
project
nowelizacji ustawy
prepared by
Prawo o
the Ministry of
szkolnictwie
Education,
wyższym i nauce, dotyczące tak
concerning the
zwanego pakietu
so-called
wolności akademickiej.
academic freedom
Wprowadzone tam
package.
zmiany
The
gwarantują
changes introduced there
nauczycielom
guarantee
wolność
the academic
nauczania,
lecturers the freedom
słowa
of
i badań naukowych.
freedom of research,
Jestem przekonany,
freedom of
że
word,
jest to dokument kluczowy
of
dla
speech.
umocnienia
I believe
autonomicznej
it's
debaty
going to
na
be a key
uczelniach
document
i
to
zapewnienia swobodnego
reinforce
rozwoju
the
nauki.
autonomous debate
To
at
element naszej
universities.
wizji
It's an element
rozwoju
of our
szkolnictwa
vision
wyższego.
for development of higher education.
Jako rząd chcemy, aby
As
ośrodki
a government, we
akademickie
want
zapewniały wysoką
universities
jakość
to provide
prowadzonych
high
prac
quality
badawczych,
of research,
także na poziomie
including at
międzynarodowym,
international
jak
level,
i ściśle współpracowały z
and we
partnerami
hope that they are going
biznesowymi.
to closely cooperate with
Jestem
business
przekonany,
partners.
że
I
plan
am
oparty
sure
na
that a plan
najlepszych
based on the
wzorcach
best
zagranicznych
foreign
systemie staży
models
zagwarantuje
and
absolwentom
an internship
zdobywanie
system will
wiedzy oraz
provide
konkretnych
graduates with a
doświadczeń
lot of
zawodowych.
knowledge and professional
Ale także będzie
experiences,
kształtował postawy
and is
oparte
going to
na
develop
klasycznym systemie
attitudes
wartości.
based on a
Chcemy,
classic
aby każda
system of
uczelnia
values.
była
We want
płaszczyzną
every university to
współpracy
be
pomiędzy środowiskami akademickimi,
an area of cooperation
gospodarczym i
between
społecznym
on
oraz
social
miejscem
level,
realizacji
on economic
projektów o
level,
strategicznym
and a place
znaczeniu
where
dla
strategic
Polski
projects are
i
going
naszej
to be
części
implemented,
świata.
which
Życzę
are important
Państwu,
for
aby
Poland
nowy
and
rok
for our
akademicki
part of the world. I
2021-2022
am sure that
na
the new
Uniwersytecie
academic
Śląskim
year at the University
był dla
of Silesia
studentów
is going to be,
rozpoczynających kształcenie
especially for the
początkiem
students who are
fascynującego
starting
spotkania z
their
nauką i nowym
academic
środowiskiem.
education, a great experience
A dla starszych roczników,
with
wykładowców, pracowników
with learning,
naukowych,
and for
czasem podejmowania
other lecturers,
nowych
I'm sure it's going to be a
inicjatyw i
time of
wyzwań
new
oraz
initiatives,
odkrywania
challenges,
innowacyjnych
and
rozwiązań,
discovering
które będą
innovative
służyły polskiej
solutions that
nauce
are going
i
to
nam wszystkim.
serve Polish
Wierzę
science
głęboko,
and
że
all of
zaangażowanie
us.
uczelni
I believe
w życie
that the
społeczne,
commitment of the
kulturalne i
university in the
gospodarcze
economic and
służy
social
realizacji misji
life
w duchu konstytucyjnej
serves
zasady
the constitutional
dobra
principle
wspólnego.
of the common good.
Podpisano prezes
Signed
Rady
by
Ministrów,
President
pan
of the Council of
Mateusz
Ministers, Mr.
Morawiecki.
Mateusz Morawiecki.
Szanowny panie rektorze, szanowni państwo, od siebie
Dear
dosłownie
Rector
30 sekund.
and dear ladies and gentlemen,
Jest mi
just
zawsze
half a
niezmiernie
minute
miło tutaj do
from
państwa
me
przychodzić,
personally.
również
It's always a great
z tego
pleasure
powodu, że
to
jestem absolwentem tej
to
uczelni.
come here for such inaugurations.
Czasami się zastanawiam,
Also because I'm a graduate of this
uczelnia
university, sometimes I'm wondering,
dobrze wykształciła
did the
czy
university educate me
z
well?
perspektywy profesorów, z perspektywy doktorów można było jeszcze bardzo
Or
wiele
from the point
poprawić.
of lecturers
I pewnie
could
państwo obserwując
much more
również
have been done.
nasze
And
zaangażowanie,
when
moje
you see
zaangażowanie
my
przez te
involvement
ostatnie 6
over the
lat,
last 6
sami sobie
years,
czasami takie
sometimes
pytanie
we're also,
stawiają.
they are also
Szanowni
asking
państwo,
themselves this question.
jest mi bardzo,
Ladies and
bardzo
gentlemen,
miło,
it's a
że
great
mogę
pleasure
tutaj dzisiaj z państwem
for me
być
to be here
fizycznie.
today with
Te
you
ostatnie 20
in
miesięcy
person, because the last
dla
20
państwa,
months
dla studentów,
for you,
dla
for the
wszystkich
students,
nas
for
w
all of
województwie
us in the
śląskim,
Silesian
w
province,
Polsce i
in
na
Poland,
świecie
in the world,
był niesamowicie
have been
trudnym czasem.
an especially
Mnogość
difficult
podejmowania
time.
decyzji na pograniczu
Multiple
zdrowia,
decisions
życia i
on the
śmierci.
borderline of
To
life,
jest coś,
death,
czego nikt z nas nie chce
is
doświadczyć.
something that none of us
Ale to tylko
wants
od
to
naszej wspólnej
experience. But
odpowiedzialności,
everything is
w
up to
oparciu o
our
wiedzę
joint
naukową,
responsibility
którą
based on
właśnie na uniwersytetach,
scientific
na
knowledge
politechnikach
that is
zdobywane.
developed
Jesteśmy
and
w stanie
gained at
wspólnie
universities. Only
takie
on the basis
trudne
of such
próby,
knowledge
jakim
we will
jest
be able
okres pandemii,
to face such difficult
wspólnie
challenges
przetrwać.
as the
A co
pandemic.
najważniejsze, to jakie
And what's most
wyciągniemy z tego
important,
wnioski i
the
konkluzje, co przekażemy naszym
what kind of conclusions are
studentom,
we going to
naszemu
draw? What are we
pokoleniu?
going to
Jak przepracujemy ten
pass on to
okres
our students? How are we
z
going to
perspektywy tego, co
work
przez
in
te
that period
ostatnie
from the
lata
taking into account
ma na świecie
what has been
miejsce?
taking place in the
Oby,
world
szanowni
over the last
państwo,
several
właśnie
years?
ten
I hope this university, the University of
był takim
Silesia,
miejscem,
is
gdzie
going
będzie
to
można
be
taką konkluzję
a place
wyciągnąć.
where such
Żeby w
conclusions
przyszłości świat
can be
tak
drawn, so
negatywnie
that in the
nas
future
mocno nie zaskakiwał.
the world
Bardzo
does
serdecznie
not
życzę
surprise us
wspaniałego roku
in such a
akademickiego
negative way.
dla studentów, ale
I'm
również
sure
dla
this
państwa,
academic year is going to
profesorów,
be
doktorów,
magnificent
abyście
for
mogli
all of you,
czerpać
for the
jak
lecturers,
najwięcej
for the
radości.
students, so that you have
Z
a lot
jednym
of pleasure.
komentarzem się nie zgodzę,
I do not
nie
agree
bójmy
with
się
one
być
comment.
naszym
Let's not be afraid
Wszystkiego
of
dobrego.
dreaming. Let's dream.
Dziękuję serdecznie
Thank you very
panu
much,
wojewodzie i panu premierowi za dobre życzenia dla
Mr.
uniwersytetu.
Voivode and Mr. Prime Minister, for those good words for the
Dziękuję za
university.
listy gratulacyjne,
I'd like
które
to thank
napłynęły
the
licznie.
letters with congratulations that we have received, so I'd like to thank all the friends of our university who remember about this important moment for our academic community.
Proszę teraz o zabranie głosu wszystkich
Now I'd
państwa,
like
którzy taki głos chcieliby zabrać.
anyone who would like to say something,
proszę,
please
panie
feel
prezydencie.
free. Yes,
Mównica jest.
Mr. Mayor, the floor is yours.
Magnificencjo rektorze, wasze
Mr. Magnificence,
Senacie,
your Senate,
ekscelencjo księże biskupie,
your Excellency,
księże biskupie, czcigodni księża, panie
your
wojewodo,
members of the clergy, Mr. Voyevode, Madam President, Mr.
przede
President,
wszystkim drodzy studenci.
and dear students.
Nie uczymy się dla
We
szkoły,
do not
lecz
learn
dla życia.
for
Ta
the
sentencja
school, but we
zapisana
learn for
przez Senekę
life.
Młodszego, a stanowiąca
This
część
statement
listu
is
prezydenta naszego miasta, doktora
a
Marcina Krupy,
part
kierowanego na ręce
of the letter from the mayor of our city, Mr. Krupa, to
jakże
Mr. Rector,
prosto obrazuje
I think
to, co za nami
illustrates well
życie zweryfikowało, ile potrafimy, jak potrafiliśmy i potrafimy
I
sobie
believe
radzić z
what has
pandemią, z
happened
tym wielkim
has
wyzwaniem,
verified
które spotkało całą ludzkość.
what we were able to face and what the academic community has been able to face.
którą mnie przychodzi dzisiaj
Today I represent
reprezentować,
the
a wiele to dla mnie
self-government or local
przyjemność
government
i zaszczyt.
community. It's a great honor for me and a great pleasure
w tym
to be
miejscu
able
nie
to
tylko
speak
złożyć
here
życzenia, ale
today,
wcześniej
not only
podziękować, jeśli
uh,
licencja pozwoli,
also
odnieść się do słów z
I'd like to
przemówienia
address some words from the speech made by Mr. Rector.
miasta Katowice.
I believe the success of the city of Katowice that you
To
mentioned
sukces nas wszystkich.
is a success of all of us, not only those present in this room, but of all those that develop the city of Katowice, the capital city of the Zagłębie and Silesia metropolis, because this transformation wouldn't be possible without the great involvement of the academic community. And so on behalf of Mayor Marcin Krupa, I'd like to thank you,
Inspiracja, o której
because
też wspominałem,
the inspiration that you also mentioned, the inspiration
o zaszczytny tytuł
to
europejskiej
run for the title of the European
jest kolejnym krokiem w tej
capital of science is another step in the great development of our city and of the entire region, I believe,
na
too.
naszych oczach się zmienia. I tu pozwólcie, że zwrócę się
And now I'd like to address the students,
którzy dzisiaj rozpoczynają
especially the ones who are beginning their journey with university, because just like Mr. Voyevode, I also graduated from the University of Silesia. Dear students, everything is in your own hands. The great change, the great transformation that I mentioned,
to bardziej dla was.
it's
To wy za chwilę
something for you to consider,
nie tylko
because
kształcić,
quite
ale
soon
potem
you're going
pracować,
to
tworzyli
study, to learn, but then also to work, and you're going to make up the modern capital of our region.
dzisiaj
And your involvement
zaszczytnych
today
ław Uniwersytetu Śląskiego.
in the rooms of the University of Silesia, and then in
Jestem przekonany, że tutaj
in your jobs, because I'm sure you're going to be able to find jobs, will be a sign of the greatness of this region and of what we all are
Jestem
doing today.
przekonany, że Uniwersytet Śląski to wasze
I'm
najlepsze
sure the University of Silesia is your best
a
choice,
miasto Katowice
and
jako siedziba.
the city of Katowice as the seat of that university benefits from it. On behalf of the mayor of Katowice, Dr. Marcin Krupa, PhD, I'd like to say that I hope that the new academic year is full of
W
success,
relacjach międzyludzkich
based on the interpersonal relationships
Uniwersytet jest kuźnią. Bo nie
that
ma
are developed at a university, because I don't believe there is any better
ludźmi jak
relationship between people than a relationship between a professor and a student, which later on can be passed on to the next
najlepszymi
generations.
życzeniami, kierując je
So
do magnificencji rektora.
I'm again great all these words
Także gości na tej sali.
to everyone present here, to all the students, all the members of the
Pozostanę z myślą,
faculty.
że otwierany właśnie rok
I am sure that
akademicki
this
będzie
new
szczęśliwy,
academic year is going to be
pełen owoców. Bardzo dziękuję.
very fruitful, healthy, and good. Thank you very much.
Bardzo
Your Magnificence, Mr. Rector, dear University, dear ladies and gentlemen,
Jako kolejny przy tej mównicy
as
absolwent
another
tejże
graduate
uczelni,
of this university,
krótko powiedzieć
I'd like
sobie
to say
dosłownie trzy
just a few words.
Uniwersytecie Śląskim,
Dear
bardzo
University of
dziękuję za
Silesia,
to,
thank you,
że jako przedstawiciel władz samorządowych miasta Sosnowca
because as a representative of the local government of the city of Sosnowiec, I'd like to thank you
możliwość
for
uczestniczenia
having the ability to participate in the
funkcjonowaniu
functioning
tego fantastycznego tworu,
of
jakim jest
this
Uniwersytet
great
Śląski. I jako absolwent tej
university,
uczelni
and as a
możemy
graduate
sobie
of that
złożyć
university,
życzenia uniwersytetowi na ten szczególny rok
I
akademicki,
hope that
który
this
dzisiaj
special academic year
jego magnificencja
that has
przewodniczący
just started is
rozpoczął.
going to be very special, very good.
Czerpiąc z przemówienia pana rektora, chciałbym życzyć
Drawing some things
uniwersytetowi
from the speech
na ten
made
rok,
by Mr.
nie
Professor,
tylko zresztą na ten rok wolności,
I hope it's going to have a lot of freedom
często
and
odwagi do buntu.
boldness, including boldness to demonstrate a rebellious attitude.
Jego Eminencjo, bardzo proszę.
Your Eminence.
Bardzo dziękuję panu rektorowi.
Thank you very much,
udzielenie
Mr.
głosu.
Rector, for allowing me to speak.
A ja chciałbym, szanowni państwo, dzisiaj udzielić
Ladies and
głosu
gentlemen,
papieżowi
today
Franciszkowi.
I'd like
Ten tekst, który
to
zacytuję,
allow Pope Francis to speak, and this text will explain why.
papież nam napisał list
The Pope wrote a letter
z okazji
on the occasion of the 700th anniversary of the death of Dante Alighieri. We are now present at the Faculty of Humanities. So let's listen to what the Pope said about the author of the Divine Comedy. What's important is that the work of Dante,
jaką jest 700. stulecie jego śmierci,
on the occasion of the 700th anniversary of his death, so that it can be more accessible, more attractive, not only for students, for researchers, but also for anyone who wants to answer some questions, want to make their own existence real and experience their own path of life and faith, experiencing the gift and the difficulty of freedom. I like to congratulate the teachers who are able to pass on Dante's message, to demonstrate the religious and cultural gifts that are included in his works, and that I believe that those gifts should also be popularized not only at schools and universities. And I would like to encourage artists to use Dante and to speak for him, to bring color, form and sounds to his poetry, following the path of beauty that he has taken, so that in this way they can pass on the greatest truths and use languages to pass on the message of peace, freedom and brotherhood.
W tym szczególnym momencie dziejowym,
on that special day in history, following a lot of difficult times of lack of prospects for the future, the attitude of Dante can still be a good model that are going to become an impulse for our further path to go on into the future in a pilgrimage of life and faith, to which we are all called until our hearts find real peace and real happiness, until we reach the final goal of humanity, love that moves the sun and moves the stars. So, dear students, dear ladies and gentlemen, per aspera ad astra. So, I hope this academic year is going to be very good for you. And it has to be stressed, let's hope it's a post-pandemic year. Thank you very much.
Dziękuję wszystkim Państwu,
I'd like to
skierowali życzenia.
thank all the speakers who decided
Wszystkie dobre i
to
znakomite.
say some things to our community. I hope
Czas zatem na
they are going to all
najważniejszy, a w
come
każdym
true. And
razie
now,
najbardziej uroczysty
the most
i doniosły element obchodów inauguracyjnych,
ceremonial element of
a
the
jest nim
inauguration,
immatrykulacja
that's
nauczycieli,
matriculation of
studentów
our
oraz
new
ceremonia
students and
złożona
the
przez
ceremony
złożenia przez nich ślubowania akademickiego. Niechaj zatem
of
każdy ślubując
saying
z
the
należytą
oath. And
powagą
I
i
so,
czcią
with
wygłasza
great
te
dignity,
ślubowania,
let's please
a my
speak,
z
say the oath,
szacunkiem i w
and
skupieniu
let's listen
jej
to it
wysłuchajmy.
with dignity.
Słowa są zwięzłe, proste,
The
mają
words are
wyrażać
simple
wasze zrozumienie i
and
świadomość
should
wagi
express
tego daru,
your awareness
jaki
of the
dziś
gift that
otrzymujecie.
you're receiving today,
Przede wszystkim możliwość
especially
nieskrępowanego kształcenia
the
umysłu,
ability to
charakteru,
educate your mind, your
zdolności
character,
i woli.
abilities.
Bardzo proszę o przeprowadzenie immatrykulacji
I'd like to
panią
ask
prorektor,
the
panią
Vice Rector, Professor Katarzyna Trenda,
i o odebranie
to
przez nią ślubowania
perform the
akademickiego
matriculation
składanego
and to take
przez
the oath to
państwa
be
studentów i
given by
doktorantów
the students and
Uniwersytetu
PhD students of the University of Silesia.
Jego magnificencjo, panie rektorze, szanowni goście,
Your Magnificence, dear guests, dear Senate, dear rectors, deans, now I'd like to address students. I'm a Vice Rector responsible for students and for education. For me, students are the most important members of this ceremony. Dear students, it's with great pleasure that I welcome you to this new academic year, and I'm very happy that the students of the University of Silesia are you. Those who finished high schools last year and in the previous years, who know remote learning. But I'm sure that that you want to study at university to develop. So you're starting to study today. Today you're starting. It's going to be your university. The university is made up of by people, students, PhD students, lecturers, administrative staff, technical staff, and other personnel. I don't want to skip anyone here, but the university is also a place for studying, for research, for students' activity, and to repeat what Mr. Rector said, we finally returned. We've won it back. We are back, and you're here. So this means you have made the best of the best decisions. That studying is something worth doing, and studying is a process, but also a result of the choices you have made. So it's a part of your life. It's not only a preparation for your future professional life. So what counts is the here and now, and every day of studying will count. It will develop yourselves. Is it easy to predict what kind of people you're going to be as graduates? No. As a representative of natural and technical sciences, I like numbers and formulas. Maybe we should figure out some formula for this future projection. It's not going to include our favorite number pi. You're going to realize on the 14th of March, but I like to try to describe this formula just with words, while the exact formula is going to be written by you. So the formula is, let's say, W for the world that keeps changing, T for technology, which is a part of every aspect of our life, E for environment, as it's in its transformation, degradation, and your care for the environment, D for disciplines, fields of study, using the knowledge passed on by professors, discussing and discovering. P for professors, tutors, teachers that you meet at the university. C for community that we make up with all of its diversity. Now we need
Siedzący na sali profesorowie, rektorzy, dziekani od razu kojarzą te liczby z algorytmu
transference
ale nie o to.
transference
Tym
factor,
razem chodzi o to, jaką wiedzę,
but
jakie
it will
umiejętności, ale
illustrate
też
what kind
emocje,
of
doświadczenia,
knowledge,
przejścia,
emotions, experiences you have.
Warto dołożyć do wzoru
Maybe we
mnożnik
should
odpowiadający waszym
add one
ciekawościom,
more
dociekliwości,
element
dążeniu
that will
do
illustrate
prawdy.
your
No i pewnie wiele innych
your
nierozpoznanych przeze mnie mnożnik, dzielnik,
striving for the
składnik.
truth, and I'm sure this formula is going to include many
Proszę
other
bardzo,
elements.
wprowadzajcie dane
So
do tego
please
wzoru od
let's
dzisiaj.
add more
Traktujcie
elements to this
uniwersytet
formula
jako
starting
ważny
today.
etap
Let's
waszego
treat the
życia,
university as an important
kształtując
element of your
kompetencje
life,
zawodowe,
shaping
ale i
your
kreatywność,
creativity,
wasze
professional
pojmowanie świata i wasze
competences,
rozwój
your
osobisty.
understanding of the world, your
Wynik
personal
pewnie
development.
nigdy nie zostanie
I'm sure
obliczony,
the result
ale
will never be
rozpoznacie,
calculated,
oszacujecie
but
go
you will
na
be able to
podstawie
estimate
waszej
it
zdolności
on
do
the basis of
odróżnienia
your
świata i zrozumienia
willingness to understand yourselves and the
Na
world.
koniec jeszcze dwie, myślę, że
I'd like to
istotne
end
dla
with
studiujących u nas studentów
two
informacje o
pieces of information about this
Jak
university.
już słyszeliście, jesteśmy
As
częścią
you've already
sieci
heard, we are a part of a
uniwersytetów
network of European universities,
sześcioma
and
innymi
with 6
zagranicznymi
other foreign
uczelniami
universities,
przygotowujemy
we
dla
are
was
preparing
ofertę bez granic.
an
Możliwość studiowania
offer
na
of
każdej
studying without
uczelni
borders
lub
at each
realizacji
of
na
these
partnerskiej
universities,
uczelni tylko wybranych
or
modulów.
only with some modules
Po
being
drugie,
taught
co
at
jest
some of
niezwykle
these
ważne,
universities.
jesteśmy uczelnią
The
dostępną i
second,
otwartą.
we're an accessible and open university, so any student with who is handicapped or has other special needs will find support, including in the scope of adapting the academic procedures. In the new academic year, the 54th academic year of the University of Silesia, I hope you're going to have a lot of success and reasons for happiness and opportunities for personal development. In a moment, you're going to say the words of the oath, while now I'd like to present the future students who were asked to participate in this event. Mr. Kornel Prokopowicz from the Film School, Mrs. Julia Byrska from the Faculty of Social Sciences, Mr. Konrad P. from the Theological Faculty, Mrs. Julia Łastawiecka from the Humanities Faculty, Mr. Filip Chmielowiec from the Faculty of Technical and Natural Sciences, Mr. Szulik from the Faculty of Education, Mr. Sobczak from the Faculty of Law and Administration, Mrs. Daria Jaroszek from the Faculty of Natural Sciences, Mr. Michał Pawełek from the College of Individual Studies. The oath is going to be given by Mrs. Karolina Gębara from the Doctoral School and Mr. Project from the International Doctoral School. Please stand up now. The new students of the University of Silesia are asked, and the PhD students are asked. Sorry, the new students of the University of Silesia in Katowice, please take the position for taking the oath. I solemnly swear that I am going to develop my own personality, to have respect for the university authorities and all members of its community, to respect the academic rights and traditions, and look after the dignity and honor of students of the University of Silesia. Thank you very much. Now the PhD students, please take the position to say the oath. Being aware of the obligations of a PhD student of the University of Silesia, I swear to develop my own knowledge and personality. I swear I am going to have respect for the university authorities and all the members of its community. I am going to respect the academic laws and traditions. I'm going to look after the dignity of ourselves and of the university. Thank you.
Pro
Dziękuję Państwu.
Thank you very much. Please take your seats.
Bardzo dziękuję
Thank
pani
you
rektor
very much,
za dokonanie aktu
Rector,
immatrykulacji
for the matriculation
pierwszego
of
doniosłego aktu prawnego w nowym roku akademickim i
momentous
odebranie
legal act in this academic year and taking the vow of a group of doctoral students. And now
listy gratulacyjne i
the
drobne
time
prezenty.
for congratulations and small gifts.
Pytania, które sami sobie
The
zadawaliśmy
questions that we ask ourselves before the beginning of this academic year, the most interesting answers will be brought by you. We are the most interested in what you expect from the university, both as students of the first years, doctoral students who are starting their scientific path. But what's the most veiled before us is your experience in educating, learning in this limited way that was forced on us by the epidemic, how you approach to our university, what it is going to happen, what is it going to become after this period of distance learning. Let it be the answer to, let us find out what happened to us through this experience. How has this experience defined our specific approach to learning that you will definitely bring to us? Let us not hide it. Let us make it the subject, the object of cognition. I wish you all the best. Be healthy. Use the whole university, not only the places that you're attached to due to the faculty you study at. The university is much bigger than we think, so congratulations and thank you very much. Now I would like to give the floor to the representative of students and doctoral students. So first I would like to give the floor to the chairman, Małgorzata Poszwa, chairwoman of the Council of Students' Self-Government.
Wasza Magnificencjo, Szanowni Państwo Rektorzy, Szanowni Państwo Dziekani, Prześwietny Senacie, dostojni goście, koleżanki i koledzy. Świętujemy dzisiaj oficjalnie
We are
54.
celebrating the
rozpoczęcie roku
54th
akademickiego na Uniwersytecie
inauguration
Śląskim w Katowicach.
of the academic year at the University of Silesia in Katowice. This inauguration is specifically important to me because today is 5 years exactly since I first stepped into the walls of this university. For the last couple of days I've been thinking on what I could say to welcome you at the university, to convince you that you should take everything it offers. I decided I would tell you my academic story and unveil what it brought to me. First, I was terrified. I came to a new town, to a new city. I started living in a two-place room with 4 other people in the flat. I did not know what to expect. The first days on the law and administration faculty were quite stressful because I had lectures and classes on the schedule, all in big buildings, scattered around the building. I was not optimistic about it. Our older students helped us find our way, and soon we managed to find our way to the classrooms and lecture halls. At the beginning of the year, I decided to deal with what I always wanted. This is working in the self-government. I went to the recruitment process. I joined the legal commission and for the first commission. Several weeks later, I decided to participate, to compete for the council of the student self-government. This is where the best story of my life started, adventure. We organized a lot of lectures and competitions for the students of our faculty. We were involved in talks with the authorities of the faculty, trying to find solutions to problems that were very important to us and that appeared on the way. These moments were special, and the most memorable one was an evening in 2019 when there was a ball of the law and of the Faculty of Law and Administration. The preparations had taken lots of time and lots of stress, but during the ball, when with my friend and previous predecessor in my position, we observed the happy dancing students, and I thought it was worth it. After 2 years in the self-government, in the faculty council, I was selected as a member of the students' council for the whole university. It was a great reward, but I was worried whether I would manage. All the plans that we worked on, we thought that they would not be possible to meet, because 2 months ahead in our term, all the lectures were suspended, and we qualified. We focused on quality of learning. We tried to animate their life. In the virtual world, we started a lot of initiatives, talking live with the Vice Rector to education and students who answered questions regarding this uncertain situation. We had competitions, a concert on the roof of one of the buildings of the university, and a charity crowdfunding. These activities in the self-government affirmed my position that you can change a lot. During the studies, a lot happened. Everything that I dealt with taught me how to negotiate, how to manage an organization, plan finance, resolve conflict, organize events, and represent the interests of other people. Such huge experience can only be gained at the university. You just need to take everything it offers. The most important thing, however, is the relationships that I gained throughout the university life. These friendships will stay with you for life. Last time, it was the last time I was standing in a queue for some the office. I was one of the professors, and in a place from where I watched the ball dancing students, and I saw the first year students, and I thought, oh my God, I envy you. You have 5 years of studies ahead of you. So I wish you that this is a beautiful path full of valuable relations, shaping your character, and that in 5 years that you're proud to say that your alma mater is the University of Silesia in Katowice. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm also really sorry that this is the end of your term, because I loved working with you. Now, Emilia Szwajno, the chairwoman of the university's Council of Self-Governing Body of Doctoral Students. Please, the floor is yours. Your Magnificence, Honorable Senate, ladies and gentlemen, dear students, dear doctoral students. This is what Chinese say of education. The teacher can open the door, but the obligation to teach and to practice is on the student. Even though we have so many kilometers between us and we have some differences in culture, some things remain universal. It's one of them. It's important that we remember about that, specifically at the moment where our university is turning into an international university. Our doctoral students come from different cultures, regardless of where we are from, we need to remember that the University of Silesia, our teachers, our tutors have opened the door and let us use this opportunity fully. Apart from proverbs that Chinese is famous for, we also have some well-known writers. I read a novel of one of them, Moyen, a Nobel Award winner. He wrote that he let a feeling emerge that sometimes turned into hatred, sometimes mercy, sometimes fear. It was definitely love. I would like to dedicate this quotation to you, our doctoral students, because it seems to me that it will become something very dear to you soon. Even if you do not realize that at the very beginning, scientific work is very often difficult, stressful, time-consuming, which, according to Moyen said, we take pity of ourselves. But it's satisfactory and full of passion, like love. I am convinced that this year's new doctoral students will find this love and passion for education, and that you will never lose it. And this is what I wish for all of you. Thank you. Thank you very much. It reminded me of my deceased friend who confirms this thesis. He showed me these teeth marks because of a book that he bit because he couldn't find a solution to the problem described in the book. Now we have all just memorable moments during this inauguration because, well, this particular moment is not due to procedures of the university, but this is based on the decision of the Senate on 2002, where the Scientia and Arte award was established, which honors the achievements of our academics, and this is the most honorable award. Now, the laureates are Professor Halina Rusek from the Faculty of Social Sciences and Professor Stanisław Kucharski from the Scientific Faculty of the Chemical Discipline. I would like to give the floor to Rector Kowalczyk to present the laureates. Your Magnificence, Rector, Honorable Senate of the University of Silesia, honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to present the candidates, well, actually, the laureates of the Scientia and Arte Award. So please let me briefly make an introduction. The first time the board of the award is composed of the senior rectors, and on behalf of this board, I have the pleasure and honor of presenting the winners of the award. Professor Halina Rusek, an incredible academic in the field of sociology and anthropology of culture. She studies the borderland, the sociology and religion anthropology. She's a precious and very well-known academic teacher, graduate of the Jagiellonian University in the Faculty of Philosophy and History. The doctoral degree was achieved by her at the University of Silesia. In 2006, she received the title of professor. In 1977, she took the work, academic and educational work at the University of Silesia, where she was the vice rector for the Cieszyn branch in years 2002 and 2005, the dean of ethnology and anthropology of culture department, director of the Institute of Anthropology, Cultural Anthropology in years 2012-2016, and the chairwoman of National Cooperation Committee. She's a co-creator of the academic circles in Cieszyn, gathering ethnologists, sociologists, and pedagogues that have created strong links and bonds in the hubs in Ostrawa, Opawa, and Prague. The scientific achievements of Halina Rusek goes along the complex identity issues in Central Europe. These are multifaceted studies related to the borderland issues in the context of state, nationality, religion, specifically on the Polish and Czech borderland along the Olza River. Two monographs by Professor Rusek, Cultural Patterns of Lives of Polish Families in Olza Borderland and Assimilation, and Religion and Polish Identity in the Olza Borderland, are incredibly important, and they show the essence of her academic interest, which is developed in other publications. Identity, borderland, in various aspects of ethnical, cultural, regional, or religious terms, are the key categories that the professor focuses on in her research. This has been reflected in the grants that she has implemented this year on ethnic cultural identity of Poles living in Olza River borderland and the shaping of the civic society in the borderland area. Professor Halina Rusek is the author of 3 monographs, including those dedicated to prisoners, female prisoners of the Auschwitz-Birkenau camp. She is editor and co-editor of 12 collective works. She is the author and co-author of about 100 papers published in Poland and abroad. She took part in more than 90 conferences. She's a member of the Ethnology Committee of the Polish Academy of Sciences and the Commission for Polish-Czech Relations and Polish-Slovak Polish Academy of Sciences, Polish Society for Sociology, Polish Association of Folk Sciences, Polish and Czech Scientific Association, and the Academic Council of the Philosophy faculty at the University in Ostrawa. And in 2021, she has been awarded the Scientia et Arte Award for National Sciences field, which we truly congratulate you, Professor. And Professor Stanisław Kucharski is an honorable and well-known scientist in the discipline of chemical scientists, focusing on quantum chemistry, promoter and a tutor of new academic staff. He's a graduate of chemical studies at the University of Jagiellonia. The doctoral degree was achieved by him at the Faculty of Mathematics, Physics and Chemistry at the University of Silesia, and Doctor of Sciences at the University of Warsaw in 1993. At the motion of this faculty of the University of Warsaw, he received the title of professor in 2002. In 1971, he took educational and direct work at the University of Silesia, where he was vice Rector for Finance and Development in years 2008-2016, Dean of the Faculty of Mathematics, Physics and Chemistry in 1999 to 2005, Director of the Institute of Chemistry from 2005 to 2008, and then 2016 to 2018, and the head of the Department of Theoretical Chemistry in 1999 to 2018, and head of the Senate Commission for Scientific Research and Cooperation with foreigners, and the Senate Commission for the Finance and Budget. His interests, scientific interests, and the biggest achievements of Professor Stanisław Kucharski are related to the creation and implementation of new calculation method applied in laboratories of quantum chemistry all over the world. It's the construction of methods allowing to describe with high precision the structural, molecular and electron structure of chemical particles. And one of the computational methods is defined by the theory of coupled clusters and the many-body perturbation theory. The experience has allowed to create a very industrious methods of using the Feynman diagrams and the efficient translation into the language of programming. Due to the this novel approach, Professor Kucharski has prepared a unique scheme of computation of the method, which is known as CCSDT, which is used for broader scope of chemical systems without the loss of results. The value of this, the advantage of that is that it allows to compute the value of excitation, of quadruple excitation, of also relatively big functional databases. The professor is also involved in cooperation with all over the world, from the USA, Professor Rodney Bartland from Quantum Theory Project, University of Florida, Professor Piotr Piecucha from Michigan State University, and many more. And the result is the cooperation in co-creation in the package of quantum chemical programs. ACES2 together with Rodney Bartlett and GAMES together with Professor Piotr Piecuch. He co-authored 95 works that were published in Journal of Chemical Physics, Physical Review, Journal of Chemical Theory and Computation, Journal of the American Chemical Society. The total number of quotations and citations is almost 7,500 according to Google Scholar, and the Hirsch index is 40. The results of the works have been presented by the professor many times during seminars and conferences in the country and abroad. He's member of the scientific committee of the Central European Symposium on Theoretical Chemistry. He was the supervisor of 6 financial grants from external sources, and he will participate in the project of cost towards a new level of accuracy in computations of molecular structure, molecular properties, spectroscopy, and thermochemistry. In 2021, he was awarded the Scientia at Arte award for his extraordinary achievements in the field of natural sciences, and it's a great honor that we can award this, grant this award to such incredible professors. So I really congratulate you on behalf of the senior rectors that had the pleasure of cooperating with you throughout these years. So congratulations. Now, Magnificence, Rector, please hand over the award, the diploma, and the statue, please. And please stand up. Thank you for your contribution for the university and for all your scientific work. Thank you very much. I am honored. Thank you, Professor, and I would like to really congratulate you for everything you have done, and we are proud to have you with us. Everybody is warning us that it's very heavy, this statue. It's not that light, that's true, but this is nothing compared to the mountains of science that you had to lift. We are truly proud of you, and we really thank you for your contribution to the work of the university, and we are looking for more. Now I would like to give the floor to the laureates. Magnificence, Rector, all the rectors that create the board of the award, ladies and gentlemen, honorable guests, when you get such an award, which is the most important one at the University of Silesia, and I really want to assure you it's really satisfactory. It gives you the feeling that you're extremely recognized in a small, tiny group of recognized people. We start thinking, well, not why, because it would be too trivial, but we think about the context and the circumstances of getting this award. You think about the words that, like, outstanding scientists. It's not only to remind the awarded person what they achieved in their scientific life and outside scientific life, the list of the achievements that outside academic work had also taken place at the University of Silesia. But I'm also convinced that this award is something you receive for deeper contribution and definitely for something that leads, that guides by the hand the person who has been endowed by the world of science, but the world in general. That is the rules and values that have been mentioned so many times today. And I fully support them. They have been uttered so clearly by the rector in his speech. The rules and values that constitute a guidebook in a way, where for many, many years, I'm talking about myself, you sort of do science and you're active outside science, and I would like to refer briefly to the scientific metaphor to conclude this reflection. On my path of a sociologist and anthropologist, I have encountered many words and statements based on which I built this guidebook of the world of science, and not only of science, but one utterance has been particularly dear to me, and I would like to refer to it. One of the classic anthropologists made a statement about science, about anthropology, which, in his opinion, holds a big mirror in front of a human and lets him or her see all the variants in which his life or her life proceeds. This unfinished number of variants of life. This is the guidebook. I've been looking into this mirror for many, many years. Today it's the International Day of Elderly People, which makes me think about the lapse of time, and I see in this mirror, I see this row, this line of people who are equal, who are free, those who are being sometimes pushed away from this line to some deeper part of our reality. This holy rule of science has been guiding me for many, many years, and this will stay like this. I will be trying to pass it on to the younger generation as much as I can in this post-pandemic year, who has affected me personally as well, unfortunately. But I am absolutely satisfied to the fullest extent by being granted this award, and I would like to thank everybody who supported the position of the rector from my faculty. I'm really, truly honored. Thank you very much. Magnificence, ladies and gentlemen, I am truly honored as well by this acknowledgement, distinction that I have been granted. I would like to thank Honorable Commission through Professor Andrzej Kowalczyk. Thank you very much. It seems to me that the selection of the chapter composition was guided by good perception of the Institute of Chemistry at the University of Silesia, and I want to emphasize that this high position of chemistry has been created by outstanding works from my colleagues from the Institute, so I would like to take this opportunity to thank them for this contribution, because I partly think that it's an award for a representative of the Institute of Chemistry. So I started working at the university on the 1st of October, 1971. It was in a building. I was assistant in a building in Szkolna number 9, where chemistry faculty is still present in this building. I remember I was truly mesmerized by the living conditions offered in Mieszka I Street in a flat, as compared to 3-4 person rooms in Żaczek in Krakow. So it was absolutely something. It was really, I was mesmerized. So it was 50 years ago. So today it's 50 years. And in the perspective of the 50 years, I would like to say that I felt, and I still feel, to be in a privileged situation. I have felt like for the entire professional life, I have been doing what I love, and I was paid for it. So this is truly satisfactory to me. And so I would like to say that this satisfaction is even deepened by the fact that I have always been surrounded by wise, kind people, and those people and all my colleagues, all my co-workers, also from outside the Institute of Chemistry, that I've had the pleasure and honor of meeting on my professional path, I would like to truly and cordially thank all of you. I'm really grateful to my Silesian alma mater for creating friendly conditions for my academic work. There have been some ups and downs regarding the access to IT equipment, to laboratories. There were times of poorer situation, but it never diminished our optimism or enthusiasm for academic work. And finally, I would like to say that this award is, to me, is really touching, because it's a conclusion to my academic activity. Very touching. Thank you very much.
Bardzo Państwu dziękuję ogromnie.
Thank you very much.
Za coś, co w tej chwili sobie uprzytomniłem.
Something that I just realized, because I have been involved and participant of this event for many years, and now I just noticed this free wisdom with the two act together on one stage, the Scientia at Arte award and matriculation of new students, and the speeches, the address of those professors who are at the apex of their career, and again those who are starting their path. This is an incredible dialogue lasting for over 50 years, because it's the 50th anniversary of working for the University of the Professor. And something interesting is that a journalist asked me the expectation for work payment from people is more or less what a professor at a university gains. This is what the young people today expect. And she asked me, what can you offer, Rector, to young scientists? And I was stuck. I could not say that the salaries are going to rise, so I'm not going to offer more if a professor, this is what the professor gets. But what you have just heard, I should have said it actually, a specific, uncomparable satisfaction that we call fulfillment, achievement on goals, or a kind of happiness that becomes part of life of a scientist. So maybe you could add this to your expectations regarding salary, though it's hard to capitalize that, to translate it into money. And now, another part of our meeting, the first academic lecture, when it turned certain, it was not for a long time certain, that we could be able to hold our ceremony here, that has been freshly, recently completed. There was no doubt that the lecture is to be given by an honorable, outstanding professor of humanities, and we did not have to think long. We asked the historian of literature, member of many academic associations, and to us philologists, humanists, the chief editor of the most important journal regarding Polish philology. And this is how we ask Professor Grażyna Borkowska, who gladly accepted the invitation. So please, Professor, the floor is yours.
I'd like to start by thanking you, Your Magnificence, Rector of the University of Silesia. I'd like to thank the Senate for asking me and inviting me to give this lecture. It's a great honor and a great pleasure to give it. I'm glad I can participate in this ceremonial event. That, despite all the external factors and circumstances, it is full of enthusiasm and happiness. As Mr. Rector said, I am a literary historian. That's why I'm not going to take too much time, because this event has taken almost 2 hours already. So I'm going to talk about some literary themes, but also some other aspects, non-literary ones. And despite the fact that this lecture has a certain place in the history of literature, it also will have references to our times, not forced references to just make you interested, even though naturally making the students and listeners interested is very important. The title is several things about our Polish mentality. I'm going to read it. Professor Józef Bachusz, a master of these researchers of the 19th century, used a very interesting title for his article devoted to our writer. It was as follows: The Wonder of Kraszewski. The first research impulse quite rarely is motivated by the hierarchy of matters that we address, the significance of the writer, which in this case is beyond doubt, or the multitude of points of view introduced by their works. The first impulse is coming from a different way, from a different point. It's affective. It does not have to start with happiness or unwillingness, but often refers to wonder, the undefined sphere between the areas of knowledge, lack of knowledge, or ignorance, which results in emotions. When preparing this dictionary of Polish literary criticism from Enlightenment to 1918, I had great experiences, a breadth of intellectual horizons of our predecessors, the previous historians of literature, critics, publicists, and their great knowledge of the European literature. The education, which almost never was reduced to only one faculty, it was usually supplemented by studies abroad. But the wonder was also at the level of teachers at good secondary schools who not only had academic titles, but also had a very good level of knowledge and were often authors of books that had research that demonstrated research quality. What is more, they were also subject to the wonder of their contemporaries. Sometimes, in the case of such prominent teachers, there were doubts whether they were even the authors of these prominent books. That was, for example, the fate of an little-known critic, Jan Szarota, who wrote a great, magnificent book about French symbolists. And for many years, until this day, you can verify it if you check the new Korbut Bibliography of Polish Literary Studies. This book is said to be written by Jan Laurentowicz, but the greatest emotions resulted from a different side, from observations of high frequency. I saw the repeating disputes between critics, publicists, presenting different worldviews. The repetitiveness, meaning from the 19th century until today, the repetitiveness of the arguments, of the charges, of the it's wondering how the 19th century world and the contemporary world thinks. Well, the linguistic practice is connected to identity, which is not only always referring to joint values that have developed over the course of history. In the Polish language, identity has always had the same meaning, never changing, clinching. Now some examples. There was once a critic, not a very well-known, even for literary scholars. His name was Józef Atnowiński, born in the Kiev Governorate during the January Revolution. He studied in France and he lived in Warsaw. He had great education, not affected by any ideology. He had great attitude to the world. He was angry about signs of stupidity or ruthlessness. He was mentally ill, and right after he was considered healthy, he shot himself in the Botanic Garden in Warsaw at the ruins of a church. It was 1906. Before that happened, his temper made Nowiński a great speaker and a great speaker. And he wrote an article, "The Bankruptcy of Mind," which was published in 1906. And that article was devoted to the critical assessment of two works by Teodor Jestechoński, At the Turn of Centuries and The Composition in Life and Literature. Both works were from 1895. He was a publicist at the start, Choński, at the start of his path, connected to the positivism, and many years later on he became an enemy of positivists. In his study At the Turn of Centuries, he wrote, "From the ashes of criticism we should take the former morality, discredited by experiments of independent science, not going into the comparative studies over the moralities of different races, not the Platonic speeches about altruism, they do not require a commentary. Only religion will oppose to the winds of criticism. It is the religion that has permanent ethical attitudes." So he uses the word independent always in inverted commas. That's Techoński. What's hidden in that fragment is a criticism of science, which is also included in his other study. Science is a source of materialist attitudes, Choński wrote, without ideals. Us, raised between 1850 and 1870, i.e. at the time of the greatest development of the rule of mind, where we were never told about the nobility of the given job. We were only told about the practicality of working. We were recommended to go into technical jobs, or to become a lawyer or a physician. And what about women? Well, the woman of the 19th century remembered that for many centuries she was just inferior to men, to the ugly, so-called ugly sex. Choński, in his study of 95, he tells the women to stay home. and he uses the motive of doors. So he puts women in homes, in the nature-driven roles. The publicists write, oh, they are so willing to get knowledge at universities, but they stopped because studying requires effort, or it was impossible for them to pursue. He was really against emancipation, considering that they hate men. Well, that was 1895. Let's remember. Nowicki doubted whether the recipe for the crisis of the world and the eruption of human egoism was inquisitors' religion enforced through administration, because that's what he demanded. He protested against considering science depraved. He wrote, his position was opposed to any kind of science. Not only Lep, but also science were criticized by him. His studies are made up of the labels assigned to them. If we wanted to draw any new conclusions based on his works, we would need to burn all the books, including the scientists, i.e. the books and their authors, with the exception of Mr. H. And he added, we should also remember that Mr. H's theories, mainly the anti-civilization theories, had nothing to do with the idea of going back to the nature of Rousseau or with the notions of Carlyle, who believed that soul was always above any formal faith. Now I'll skip a fragment of the quote, not to make this lecture too tiring. So, in short, studies or science was a synonym of something that is really wrong, that is corrupt. The critic believed that Nowicki used the tone of Faust, demonstrating only apparent erudition. He wrote that Choiński used second-hand knowledge, misunderstandings, and glaring mistakes. He presented a lot of evidence, including part of justification by Nowicki. I'm going to skip now. Let's put it like this. The debate resulting from poor studies of Choiński, which we can also see in the statements of today and official statements that are supposed to affect teaching programs. That's an prominent element of Polish culture, which results from the Polish mentality, which are not difficult to point out, but difficult to explain. We're going to go back to this notion. Now let's make the narrative even more complicated, referring to an article by a prominent historian of the culture of the interwar period, Stefan Kołaczkowski, and the phenomenon of anti-positivist breakthrough in the European culture. That breakthrough is situated in the last decades of the 19th century. It covers the process of emancipation of humanities from the natural sciences, the autonomy of art, noticing the non-transparency of the language, its creative role in the literary process, its philosophic rejuvenation.
którymi zajmuje się nauka. Tak jest na Zachodzie.
That's what it looks like in the West. And that's what we assume that was the anti-positivist breakthrough in Poland too. And I believe these claims were only met by the positivist culture, while in Poland the anti-positivist breakthrough looked differently. It started later, at the beginning of the 20th century, and its dominating elements were different. Kucharski makes the Polish and European calendars the same, transferring the statement of changes to the second half of the 1870s, and he noted the four principal elements of the transformation, i.e. with Fire and Sword by Sienkiewicz, the Nad Niemnem by Orzeszkowa in 85, the Piłsudski in Siberia from 1987, the publication on the National Treasure by Miłkowski from 1887. This list demonstrates the thinking path of the author. It was developed in 1887. He did not mobilize the nation then. Even in 1914, the support for him was very small. The Miłkowski brochure presents an idealized vision of the Polish unity and strength. It also exaggerated the role of Sienkiewicz. I hope you, Mr. Rector, are going to forgive me for this statement. Orzeszkowa in this list seems to be the most proper person in this list. But it could be only a commemorative gesture of sorts, but like in the Wyspiański dramas, Kucharski really appreciated the fact that the breakthrough generation accepted what he really appreciated in the anti-positivist breakthrough in the Polish version. That was the adoption of activist attitudes, because activism challenged the rationality and determinism, which, in his opinion, resulted from poor will, the feeling of loss. And that breakthrough, understood as activism as a national insurgence, opened the path to national notions. For example, he challenged the studies by Świętochowski and his worldviews, while he believed Jan Ludwik Popławski to be of more significance, who established the Głos magazine. That magazine was supposed to make the nation unified, and then Popławski followed the national democracy movement. Kucharski said the fact that Popławski was opposing positivism was a radical thing. Nothing better characterizes the contempt of Popławski to positivism than his attitude to Prus's works. Despite he compares him trivially with a bitch who once had some dogs with a mongrel. The mongrel in this comparison is positivism. Popławski said that despite Kucharski wrote, despite Popławski adopting the criticism of positivism, he was characterized by a different attitude, the instinct, the will. These were the actual strengths on which Popławski based his independence program. the quote about the events of the bitch having sex with a mongrel, he took it from the world of marionettes published in the Głos magazine, and it was connected to Prus's The Doll book. According to Popławski, Prus was not a positivist to such a high degree because of the end of that harmful doctrine. We know that Kołaczkowski believes the end of positivism or death of positivism is in 1894. So not more than 10 years after this, the height of that movement. Popławski only approved the grassroots work of positivism. So both critics agreed here. The attitudes of Popławski and Kołaczkowski were 40 years apart. So in this lecture it's difficult to separate them from each other, to make a distinction between them. Popławski believed positivism was too old, it was only on the sidelines of life. In his opinion, positivism ran out of capital. Why? Because the society required strength and new energy, better foundations. End of quote. It did not have to be conceptualized notions. It was based on a feeling aimed at delivering the vitality. And Kołaczkowski lists the respective stages of that path. That's Kasprowicz, Witkiewicz, Konopnicka, Matejko, Reymont, Jeż, Orzeszkowa. The researcher emphasizes that at the time of the anti-positivist breakthrough, what changed was the way of thinking, the attitude of humanities was changing from universalizing and forward thinking to local one, to original one, concentrated on domestic past. And he also refers to a quote from another work by Popławski. Popławski died in 1908. It's a res sacra sketch written 2 years before his death on the New Year's Eve of 1906. And Popławski, in this text, Renaissance, which was published in a book devoted to Ignacy Chrzanowski, a prominent literary scholar, the quote is as follows: "Further and further, deeper and deeper, we need to go into the past, up to the lowest stories, to the foundations of the national life, where there is no awareness and where you can see the voice of blood. The instinct which will not fail us, it will show where we have the origins of a Polish spirit to give us strength and health." Research into social mentality is a difficult task, especially so if we compare historical and contemporary figures. This material is not representative. Let's remember it's short and affected by the scientific status of the senders, but it doesn't mean that the statements analyzed in this sketch make it impossible to draw some conclusions which do not arrive at a better understanding of the past and present, because the riddle becomes a riddle. But it indicates the repetitivity of our ways of thinking. So it's a portrait of Poles. We doubt the achievement of science. We challenge the achievement of science and have challenged it since the 19th century, as opposed to easily represented magical religious attitudes where we in the Polish language, realpolitik is a very negative term that is used in publicism, in publications. Our authors, both Popławski and Kołaczkowski, emphasize on the inborn elements of the Polish soul. What's important is not protecting the matter, the social resources, but what is important is the enigmatic will of the nation based on its feeling of strength and state. Kołaczkowski and here the corrections of the thesis of the Krakow school. He invoked the Curzon lecture from 1880, in which Curzon criticized the Krakow school attitudes. And the last small fragment of summary, what makes so different people in different times, I would say even up to our times. Why do these people go back to the same notions? Because Kołaczkowski clearly believes in the attitudes by Popławski and with the anti-positivist article and with that significance of nation. Let me point out just one element. The Polish society has not taken the school of freedom, especially if we want to treat all the classes, including the unprivileged people, the workers, the masses. I'm not talking about independence, I'm talking about freedom. When using the distinction made by a historian, Henryk Wereszycki. Freedom and independence are not one and the same. In an independent country, you can be not free. In a non-sovereign country, you can enjoy freedom. After 1989, has that difference disappeared? No. It has become stronger and stronger. That way of thinking resulted from what Andrzej Walicki stated in one of his books. The title of the book is Anti-Communism Instead of Freedom. And it's like that. We are served something that we agree for. We are served with something instead of freedom, while freedom is the only choice. The only limitation is harm to another citizen, another person. It turns out freedom is too difficult, it requires too much independence, it gives you rights but also obligations. It's connected to personal responsibility. And so we choose the simpler option. Someone makes a decision for us of what is good, what's bad. They segregate the world for us, shows us the path, and thus, without the ballast of freedom, we enter the sphere of what the majority believes. Thank you very much.
Bardzo dziękuję, pani profesor.
Thank you, Professor.
Przyjmij proszę od nas.
Please, let me pass this small gift on to you.
Chciałaby pani zabrać?
Would you like to take that?
Nie, może stać.
No,
Ładnie.
it can stay here. It looks nice. Or you can take it.
To nie znaczy, że zabierzemy.
It doesn't mean that we're taking it away. We're just keeping it for you, and it will be waiting for you.
Drodzy Państwo,
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the end. That's all we have planned for today. Obviously, in spite of all the security measures and all this, it's very cheerful and happy time. We're starting the new academic year in this beautiful hall, and I would really like to thank the Dean. I know that you have not enjoyed it so much before we appeared in your hall, but we know the university is home to all of us. Even if it managed according to our disciplines and faculties, we are very hospitable to one another. It's a beautiful place, and I hope it's going to serve all the humanity students and academics and the whole community. I want to thank all of you. I'm looking at the chancellors and everybody who supervised the works, who worked here, who tried, who made every effort to accept new students for the next year. I want to thank everybody who did the overhaul, Krzysztof Jarosz and Dean Magdalena Pastuchowa, who contributed greatly to the shape of this place. We will enjoy it together with the students for many years to come. Today's celebrations have been ornamented by the choir that is going to still sing for us. Thank you, director of conductor. I would like to thank the conductor, but also there has been the mute choir, incredible choir that propagates the choir music in sign language, promotes the sign language, knowledge on sign language. The choir is not only present in our academic space, but also in the media. It has been noticed, and we're truly proud of it. I want to thank all the guests who ornamented our celebration, students, doctoral students. I would like to thank the guests that I have not mentioned, and I'm looking at the gray hair of the editor, the chief editor of Znak, Jerzy Irga. Please show yourselves, everybody. You're there in the back, but we're cordial welcome. I'm really happy you're here, a friend of Katowice, of university, not only of academic circles, but also of artistic circles. So I thank you very much for your presence. I would like to thank the representatives of the Song and Dance Association in a group from Katowice for helping us. So again, we're back. We've opened the closed door of the university. Please rise. I announce the inauguration celebrations of the academic year 2021-2022, the 54th inauguration since the beginning of the university, as closed.
Gaudeamus igitur juvenestum sumus. Gaudeamus igitur juvenestum sumus. Post iubundam juventutem, post modestam senectutem, nos habebit humus, nos habebit humus. Vivat academia, vivat professores, vivat academia, vivat professores. Vivat membrum quod libet, vivat membrum felibet, semper sit in flore, semper sint in flore. Gaudeamus igitur juvenes dum sumus, Gaudeamus igitur juvenes dum sumus. Post iubundam juventutem, post molestam senectutem, nos habebit humus, nos habebit humus. Vivat Academia, vivat professores, vivat Academia, vivat professores. Vivat membrum quod libet, vivat membrum felibet, semper sint in flore, semper sint in flore. Gaudeamus igitur juvenes dum sumus, Gaudeamus igitur juvenes dum sumus. Post iubundam juventutem, post molestam senectutem, nos habebit humus, nos habebit humus. Vivat Academia, vivat professores, vivat Academia, vivat professores. Vivat membrum quod libet, vivat membrum felibet, semper sint in flore.